Hi, my name is Rihanna, and this is my new homestead. My husband and I decided to move back to the Midwest from the desert mountains in Arizona, where we had spent the last couple years together. Even though we loved our time there, we wanted to be closer to family and build a homestead in the country. So we packed up everything we had, including the cat and dogs, and we headed east. We knew we wanted to live a different life out here, far away from the city. Grow our own natural organic food, raise chickens, collect our own water, have a few goats, and become more self-sufficient so that we can have more of a sustainable way of living. We were lucky to find an amazing secluded property on over 3 acres, which is more than either of us have ever had before. There's something special about being among the trees, the wildlife, living more simply and reconnecting with the earth. It has opened my eyes to a whole new world. It has been a journey so far, and we're learning everything we can along the way. Aside from the few raised garden beds I had in the past, I knew pretty much nothing about gardening and homesteading on this scale. We've made some mistakes, learned some hard lessons, but we can't wait to see our dreams turn into a reality. These videos I'll be sharing with you are not meant to be how-to videos. I really just want to share my journey with you and my own enthusiasm of watching how plants and animals respond to human care and nurturing, and to inspire people to get back to the garden, connect with nature, and become more self-sufficient. One of the first things we did when we got here was explore the land. We wanted to feel it and let it know we were here to collectively build something beautiful with it. So we asked for its blessing and help. Then we started to clean some brush and foraged stones to build our own fire pit. The first project we started to tackle was the foundation for our permaculture garden. So I ordered a few giant piles of wood chips. I was so excited to see the first delivery arrive. And I couldn't wait to start hauling barrels of wood chips to the new garden site. I laid down contractor's paper and then a good few inches of wood chips to help create the forest bed for our gardens. What this will do is create a soil underneath that will be rich in microbes and fungi, which is what I want for a healthy soil. Healthy soil is the most important part of a vegetable garden.
So as you can see, I've made quite a dent in this wood chip pile. You can see along the perimeter of it where the large pile once was, and though it appears like as if it was a lot of wood chips, and it was, it's not nearly enough to cover the entire ground of the area that I'm trying to build for my permaculture food forest. So I'm already trying to set some of this stuff up. Ordered another pile of wood chips that hopefully will be arriving soon. So I'm trying to clear space for that and also just get a head start on setting up the flooring so that after I get everything laid out, I will be starting to build my fencing for my garden to keep a lot of the various critters and deer out, because we have plenty of those on this property. Doing a lot of this work most of this morning, all week. My body is feeling it, but it's a great kind of burn because I'm so excited And I've been waiting for this, and that's what keeps driving me to do this work. It's all going to be worth it. And this is the kind of effort we want and need to put in order to have the amazing amounts of food and beauty that we want to create here on our property. So now, let's wheel this over. And as you can see here, I have it roped off, the area that we plan on using as majority of this food forest. And this is what I've done in just a few days' time. So as you can see, it's not nearly enough yet. There's still a lot of work to do, so there's going to be days ahead of me doing a lot of this work. Some of the poles have since fallen down, but I generally have it roped off to give me a rough idea as to the area that I'm working within. But this is what I've laid out, and this has about at least 4-6 or so inches of wood chips. I've been laying down builder's paper first over the grass, and then layers of the wood chips. And what that will do is create nice rich soil underneath. It'll give fungi and healthy bacteria a chance to grow, which will actually create wonderful, beautiful soil for us that will be rich come time in the spring for when I start growing these vegetables and fruit trees, berry bushes, which is what will be grown here. So ideally, what we're doing is creating layers which will include perennials, annuals that will produce fruit, vegetables, berry bushes, all of the brush within our gardens, as well as the next layer, which will be fruit trees, as well as the other abundance of trees that we have growing here on our property to create and mimic that of natural forest. So actually what that will do long term is create beautiful, rich food here for us. Also a thriving ecosystem of a variety of different living birds, which will be helping, insects that will be coming in. I'll be growing some more flowers as well that will be drawing in a lot of the butterflies and pollinators. So this will be a thriving homestead for us. And down here below, we have a creek, and this is where the greenhouse is going, which is going to be arriving here in mid-November. So the greenhouse will be going here, which is where majority of the sun comes in. A creek lies behind that runs through the rest of our property below. And this is all of ours as well. We like to keep a good majority of our property untouched, wild. There's a lot of animals that live here, a lot of nature spirits that live here, fairies. So we want to make sure that we provide a good environment for them to thrive as well. Because when we work in harmony with a lot of the animals and nature spirits here, they will in turn produce great abundance to us as well. So all of this back here, eventually, if you can see over beyond the trees here, there's more clearing, and that is where hopefully we will intend on having maybe a couple goats and potentially doing more gardening in that area as well. But for now, this will all be untouched. However, I will probably end up growing some fruit trees and berry bushes throughout this area. And up closer to the house, I will have chickens. We have our chicken coop, the materials that will be arriving in mid-October, which, by the way, given the current pandemic, there's been a lot of lack of materials, building materials. So I had to order that stuff quickly because the prices were already starting to go up, and a lot of that stuff is going to be in scarcity soon. So I'm glad that we were able to get our order in for these items. But we will have a chicken coop over here, which will produce a lot of good shade, but also sun for them, as well as back here some composting piles that I will be building using wooden pallets, and just the brush from the land, yard waste, as well as some manure that we'll be getting from the chickens. And this is what I will be working on over the next several months this fall into winter, so that come spring, early spring, I will be growing a lot of my seeds that I already have stocked up on in the greenhouse.
Building the garden foundation took many, many days, but eventually we finished it. During that time, we also built our compost bins. We used old wooden pallets that we got from a small farmer nearby. We have never done this before, and it took us a couple days because we ran out of supplies and got some of the wrong ones, so we had to make multiple trips to the hardware store.
Hi, so Mike and I are going to be making a wooden pallet today, compost bin. We're going to be making a couple of them. One for actually building compost, adding to it, and the other one will be more of an active one. So we're going to get started by trying to move these wooden pallets to the other side of the house using hopefully our tractor. We'll see if that works.
This is a frustrating process.
So this has been quite an interesting process so far, even just getting this done, but it's coming along, and now we're going to move on to getting the door ready, which is going to be a little bit more involved, using a saw to kind of cut some pieces in half.
When we were putting these together, we had a problem of difference in pallet wood. Like this one was much more difficult to screw into. And so inevitably, we only could get some in part of the way, but it's good enough, it's stable. And it really does help to have an electric or cordless drill.
Look at that.
Hey,
Door that works.
looks fantastic.
Before we knew it, the chicken coop had arrived, so we started to put that together, with a little help from Bogey. This project was a little easier since we had step-by-step instructions. Because of all the deer and wildlife we have out here, we knew we were going to have to build a fence around our garden. This was a much, much bigger project for just the two of us, so we got some help from one of our contractor friends. Seeing the posts in the ground started to make it all that much more real, so I was really getting excited. Then the first snowfall of the season had arrived. It was so beautiful, especially after spending the last 2 years in the desert. I watched our home transform into a beautiful winter wonderland. Bogey loved it. He's a husky mix, so he loves the cold. He kept wanting to make doggy snow angels. Our new greenhouse was coming in a couple weeks, so we had to start preparing the foundation for that using 57 limestone. We had our greenhouse custom built by a local maker, and I couldn't begin to tell you how giddy I was when they pulled down our drive. It was quite the process getting it around our new fence, and we realized it probably would have been easier to put up the fence after getting our new greenhouse, but they were back ordered at the time I placed the order and couldn't deliver it until late in the season. We wanted to get the fence posts in the ground before it got too cold and the ground would freeze. Now I'm starting to plan a few more projects and prepare for the spring season. I'm envisioning what this land will look like in just a few years, thriving and full of life. I can't wait to get my hands dirty and create a beautiful and sustainable homestead for us. I know our journey is just beginning, and I cannot wait to see what will come next.